Today, I'm tackling a problem that's frustrating for most homeowners, a clogged kitchen sink, especially one with a garbage disposal. If you've ever flipped the switch and heard that disposal spinning but the water just sloshes around without draining, this video is for you. I recently dealt with this myself, and spoiler alert, I found some pretty nasty stuff in my P-trap. First things first, if the disposal is spinning but water's not draining out, that's a sign that the clog is in the pipes itself and not in the disposal. But it is a good idea to check the disposal first. You can use an Allen wrench to rotate the blades underneath the disposal itself, and if it rotates freely, it's likely not jammed up. There's also a reset button on most disposals, and if you push it in, normally it really won't do anything, but it may have popped out, and if you push it back in, then your disposal might start working again. But again, if your disposal's spinning but the water's not draining, it's probably the pipes. Now, before you dive under the sink, make sure that you let the water drain. I let mine drain overnight, and this just makes it so that when you open up those pipes, water doesn't splash everywhere. It's also a good idea to get some towels and a pan or something to catch some spilled water underneath the pipes. Okay, now for the fun part. The P-trap is the U-shaped section of the drain pipe, and it's one of the most common places for food, debris, and even grease to get stuck. The reason it's the best place to check first is that it sits low in the drain system, which means if there's a clog, it's often right here in the P-trap. Plus, it's much easier to access than other parts of the plumbing. It's a simple fix, but you might need a wrench if the connections are too tight. I was able to loosen mine and tighten them back up by hand, but just keep in mind that you might want to keep one handy just in case. When you start loosening the P-trap, be careful as there might be some pressure buildup. You may want to take a step back and have those towels ready because any water trapped in the pipes can spill out really quickly. Untwist the threads on both sides, and then there it is, the moment of truth. I found it right away as I took off the P-trap. This clog was a mix of food shavings, potato peels, and something a little more sinister, kinetic sand. I had washed one of my son's toys a few days before that had a little bit of kinetic sand on it, and then this clog happened right afterwards. And this sink has never clogged like this before, so I can't help but wonder if the kinetic sand played a part in that. Clearing out the P-trap is pretty straightforward. You can just push the debris out with your fingers or use a small brush if needed. Make sure everything is out. Then rinse the P-trap with some warm water and maybe even some dish soap to get rid of any remaining gunk. Now, one thing I recommend is to avoid pouring what you just got out of the P-trap back into the garbage disposal. There was obviously something about it. It kind of got through the disposal, but still clogged the pipes. So flush it down the toilet, throw it in the trash. I threw mine in my compost. I have a big compost, so that little bit of food waste isn't going to hurt it, but don't put it back into the garbage disposal. Once the P-trap is clear, it's time to reinstall it. Simply reconnect the P-trap by hand tightening the connections. If you needed a wrench to loosen it, use it again to snug it back up, but be careful not to over-tighten. It just needs to be secure enough to avoid leaks. Now, after I put the P-trap back on and started to run the water, I noticed a small leak coming from the P-trap. This is something that you might run into as well, so if it happens, just tighten the connections a little more. I actually took mine off to kind of reset it, and then I just made sure that they're secure, but not too tight so that I didn't damage the pipes. Now for the moment of truth. Turn the water back on, run the disposal, and watch as the water drains smoothly. Problem solved, and we didn't even have to remove the garbage disposal. And that's it. An easy fix for a clogged sink with a garbage disposal. No need to call a plumber. No need to take apart the entire system. Just check the P-trap, clear out any debris, and you're back in business. If you found this video helpful, I would really appreciate a thumbs up, and I'd love to hear a comment on what the craziest thing that you've ever gotten stuck in your kitchen sink was. I'm kind of embarrassed that I put kinetic sand in my sink. I should have known better than that, but I didn't, so I had to do the fix. Anyways, that's all I've got for you for today. I'm Anson Alexander, and I'll see you in the next one.